Welcome to TTM Cast, your sports collectibles podcast, sponsored by SportsCollectorsDaily.com. If it happens in the hobby, you'll find it on SportsCollectorsDaily.com. And sponsored by GemRate.com. The latest grading statistic from the 4 major grading companies is just a click away. Visit GemRate.com. It's free. And now, here's our host, Drew Pelto.
Well, hello, everybody. Once again, we're coming to you with TTM Cast, your sports collectibles podcast. It's a place where we talk TTM, cards, autographs, all kinds of things related to collecting, and whatever else comes up and is on our mind at the time. This is season number 7, episode number 13. We took last week off, so it is April 19th, here on this nationally ranked sports collectibles podcast. I am Drew Pelto hosting this show here, and I am joined by Arron Littleton, my co-host. Good to have you here as usual.
Yeah, it's awesome to be back. Took a week off. Feeling good, feeling refreshed. So yeah, let's get into it. It'll be great.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, April 19th, we're recording this. It's right in the middle of the Easter and Passover seasons for the Christians and the Jews. It's also Ridvan for, I think that's the giant, not the Giants, the Baha'is that have Ridvan. You've got the Vaisakhi for the Sikhs out there. And it is also NFL draft week for the footballians out there. So happy draft day or draft week to all of you. For the hockeyites, the NHL playoffs are beginning. And for those of the dunk faith, the NBA playoffs are beginning as well. So very busy in all the holidays here going on this week. And of course, baseball. Baseball is a thing that exists right now. It doesn't really have a holiday, unfortunately. But yeah, lots of stuff going on there. I mean, we've got NFL draft this week. I'm usually a gigantic draft geek, but I've kind of fallen off ever since, when the Browns actually started to get somewhat passable. And then when they didn't have first-round picks for like 3 years in a row, I've kind of fallen off. And now we're suddenly back to picking second overall. I'm like, oh, God, no. What happened there? We're Brownsing it again. So, yeah, this is interesting, but I don't know. Arron, do you ever watch the draft at all, or do you keep up with that ever at all?
The only draft that I really watch is the MLB draft, and I don't really watch that one very much. But no, unfortunately, I'm not one who partakes in the NFL draft.
May I leave you with some literature then? No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to try to convert you. There's this great comic strip, Pearls Before Swine, that has this whole thing about a religion based around cheese. In one of its nachoification was what it was, and that's one of the things that Pig, who invented it, says. He's like, "Oh, a non-believer, may I leave you with some literature then?" And hands it over to someone. But yeah. Anyways, lots going on there. I don't know how the Mavericks done. I have not been following that at all. I know they were in the play-in series. It's weird to me to have playoff and play-in, but yeah, here we are. So I guess they got the play-in series. Any updates on what's going on there?
Yes, I believe that they lost to the Memphis Grizzlies, and so they're done. I mean, that was pretty inevitable once Luka was traded and all of that. So unfortunately, I saw a graphic that said before the Luka trade, the Mavericks had a 70% chance to make the playoffs, and then after the Luka trade, they have now since been eliminated. So hopefully, Nico Harrison will. I nearly said eliminated. That's a different thing. Hopefully he will be fired.
He'll be eliminated from his position. Go with that.
There you go. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So, I mean, Cavs number 1 in the East, but I don't follow basketball that much, so I could probably tell you like 2 players on the team, and that's it if I'm lucky. So good on them for that, but I'm hoping that they'll do something and just kind of bandwagon them once, May rolls around here or something. But playoffs for the NHL. My Penguins are long out of it. Stars, of course, play the Avs in the opening round, so I'm sure you and Jen will not be talking to each other at all. So
I'm sure that's the way the Jen likes it. But man, I gotta tell you what, the Stars, you talk about backing into the playoffs, man. I mean, loss after loss. So I'm not feeling good about this, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Dealing with a lot of injuries, too. I know, what's his name? Miro has been, they said that he's probably going to miss most of the first round. You've got think they've got another forward who's going to be out for at least the first game or two. I think it was Robertson's going to be out the first game at least. You've got Sagan just coming back off an injury. It's like, yikes. And now the Avs, of course, are getting Gabriel Landeskog back as well after 2.5 years out, or almost 3 years out of the lineup. So it'll be an interesting series, to say the least. My wife's it's definitely celebrating as soon as I mentioned Landeskog's name there, but it'll be an interesting series at the very least there to start things out.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be some good hockey played. We'll see what happens.
So, going on this week, I know you'll probably have a lot to talk about here with this one, but we saw the Charros de Jalisco back on Tuesday down in Cleburne, Texas. Later on today, we're going out to see Amarillo and Frisco. We had, of course, the Corpus Christi and Frisco game last week. And I have a birthday coming up. I'm just going to mention that. That's all. If anybody wants to get me something, just send me a roll of stamps or something. But yeah, that's coming up middle of this week. So that's what my week has looked like in the week ahead. Arron, what's yours looking like? Do you want to give the recap of the Jalisco game there, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, I could do that. So man, it has been a crazy graphing bonanza for me to start the season. I mean, obviously, last time we were on, we talked about doing Corpus, and so we did Corpus. That was on a Sunday. And so my first time getting Rangers #1 prospect Sebastian Walcott and all of that. So that was kind of cool. I enjoyed it's always a good time in Frisco. They've got the Nets now, which makes our job a little bit harder, but luckily where we normally stand is still down there. Then after that, so last weekend I actually did, I think I mentioned that we went to my aunt's surprise birthday party down in the San Antonio area. And then on the way back, we hit Round Rock. And so that was only the second time that I had ever been there. But the first time that I went, I was not doing the Eternal Graphing Tour yet. And so there was no recap of that ballpark. Well, now I've got pictures I'll have to post to do that. And so luckily the big one that we got down there was Evan Carter, who is still, as far as I know, in AAA. You have to think at some point he'll probably make his way back up to the major league roster. But yeah, so getting to hang out with our friend Andrew and do Round Rock was awesome. And the other big guy that I got was Dodgers catching prospect Dalton Rushing. So that was cool. I was trying to get him. And then, yeah, you briefly touched on what was the most interesting game I have ever been to in my entire life that we saw on Tuesday. And that was, yes, it was originally supposed to be the Cleburne Railroaders, which is, our friendly independent league team here in South Fort Worth. But yeah, so we went out there. That was very interesting. They were playing as you said, the Charros de Jalisco, and a bunch of former major leaguers on that team, or at least major league prospects who had cards. And so I mean, the big one obviously was Billy Hamilton, but Onelki Garcia has cards. Mateo Gill, obviously they're managed by Benji Gill. And Pete Incaviglia was out there shaking hands and signing a bunch of autographs for us, at least. I don't know how many more people got him. But yeah, that game, it was an exhibition. So essentially like a spring training game in the American Association. And I knew it was going to be a fire day when we walked through the gates and got a full package of pasta. I had never, I had never in my life gotten any pasta, much less a full package of pasta at a baseball game. And it was, the whole thing, the graphing experience was very interesting. My head ended up on the Railroader, or no, I guess the Charros Facebook page. As we were graphing, Benji Gill was taking pictures with a bunch of people, and you can clearly see the side of my head in one of the pictures. Yeah, and so that it was very interesting. Nobody knew what time the game was. We were just playing a game, and nobody knew how many innings we were going to play, and we ended up playing 10 innings for, as best I can tell, no reason at all. And the Charros ended up losing 4-3 in the bottom of the ninth, ended up getting walked off, and then we played the 10th anyway. And then for some reason, Cleburne conceded their last 3 outs to the Charros. So the Charros got, after losing the game, as would generally be applied, in the bottom of the ninth, after getting walked off, we played the 10th. The Charros hit, went 1-2-3 in the top of the 10th, got out. Cleburne made a pitching change, and then the Charros hit again, 4-5-6, got out. I mean, it was just all very, very interesting. I think you'll agree.
The crazy thing is, I looked at the game that was on Wednesday night. They played there as well. The Charros won at 12-0, and from what I can tell from the articles about the game that was on their website, they played 10 innings there as well in a 12-0 game.
Very interesting.
I don't know why. I see you're as confused as I am by that, but I guess, I mean, okay, it's spring training. They're trying to, get a little extra time in or something. I don't know. That's my only guess and all that. But you mentioned Onelki Garcia earlier on. We had a really good timing with him because I don't know if Chris told you about this. He texted me about it, but Garcia got released yesterday afternoon. So we got him just in time before he got dropped by them. So yeah, that's one of the few. This is one of the few times my transaction has worked in my favor instead of a guy. Oh, he got called up yesterday or something. So yeah, that was lucky timing for us on that one for sure.
Yeah, and so I don't normally get to go to games on Tuesday, so it was a very interesting experience, but I was happy to be there other than working as I normally would have been.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on this week's show, we have Les Wolff joining us. You're going to be having more from Les, where we talk about collection protection and how to make sure that your stuff stays in as good of shape as you could possibly keep it. So stick around for that. It's something that Les talked a lot about a couple years ago on the show with Jeff. We've briefly touched on it here and there, but we'll go a little bit more into depth on all that here on this week's show. Of course, we have all of our regular segments, including Baker's Dozen, where we'll have all sorts of news from the collectibles world, a lot of shows and card releases to talk about in there. After we hear from Les, we will have Making the Grade, covering all things related to grading here in the hobby. Got the TTM Cast stamp of approval, where Aaron and I give our thumbs up to something, anything. You don't know what it's going to be from the previous week. It's always all over the map from us. You don't know what you're going to get. We got the Vern Rapp Minute, covering deaths in the world of sports, celebrity, music, movies, and politics. Anybody you might consider TTMing, we will let you know if they have passed away. And the main reason why we are here, it is our TTM returns, and it looks like we both finally have have had a decent week of stuff coming in. So make sure you stick around for all of that. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can do so by email. Aaron, what is the email address here for this show?
It's ttmcast@yahoo.com.
There you go. So any questions, any comments, anything like that, feel free to send them our way. We'll try to get them answered. If you'd like to contact me directly, you can find me on my website at dfwgrapher.com. My email address is dfwgrapher@gmail.com. And you can follow me on Blue Sky and Instagram at dfwgrapher. Aaron, you're around as well. Where can the people find you?
Instagram is the hub for that. You can follow me at Arron Sports Card Explosion. That is Aaron, Arron. I'm constantly having to spell that for people because it is non-traditional. But yeah, you can check out my Michael Young collection, which is something I forgot to mention. Michael Young is in all the sets now, apparently, after like a 10-year hiatus. So he's also in tribute. I know that you said he was in some Panini stuff coming up. So yeah, it's a good day to be the only Michael Young grapher, or the only Michael Young collector in existence. Yeah, so me and only me are happy about that. But so you can you can check out my Michael Young collection and all that at Arron Sports Card Explosion. There's also the Eternal Graphing Tour, and there is that is my quest to visit every affiliated ballpark in the United States and Canada. Here pretty soon I'll have my recap of Round Rock from this last weekend. And yeah, so you can check that out. And that is the Eternal Graphing Tour with underscores in between each of those words.
Speaking of Michael Young stuff, an alert to the world out there. I have actually done something. I have found a Michael Young item that Arron did not have yet that I had here. So I think it was about a year ago, Alex Router, who's a listener of the show here and a friend of mine, sent me a whole bunch of stuff, including these like 2010s. I think they're all 2013, 2014 top stickers. And Arron did not yet have the Michael Young sticker from the 2013 set. And so I was able to find that in there while I was sorting stuff out. So, yeah, I don't know how I did that. That's like him finding a Corey Snyder that I don't have. So, good luck on that if you're able to do that. But, yeah, if you do, that's bravo to you, because there aren't that many. All the stuff I have out there is like super that I don't have yet, is super rare stuff. So, yeah, let me know if you ever come across any. But I did find a Michael Young that Arron does not have. So stop the presses. We have news there.
Yeah. Fireworks.
Yes, exactly. With that, let's go ahead and move on into this week's sports collectibles news in Baker's Dozen.
Baker's Dozen, sponsored by SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Smart collectors turn to Sports Collectors Daily to stay up to date. From new releases to incredible collections hitting the auction block, news from inside the business of sports collectibles, and much more, Sports Collectors Daily has it, all with no subscription cost. SC Daily also delivers a live look at the most watched sports card auctions on eBay for every sport. Sign up to get the headlines in your email for free, or just visit the website whenever you like. With 16,000 stories in the archive going back 16 years, there's always plenty to read at SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Baker's Dozen is a summary of all things going on in the collectibles world. And starting off, of course, I want to remind you to check out SportsCollectorsDaily.com. They've got all of the latest news, as it is a daily site right in the name there. And I write an article for them every week on what's going on in the autograph world. So you can see this past week, I put up my stuff about the game with the Charros de Jalisco. Also talked a little bit about cards that players won't sign. And, of course, a little recap of TTM stuff, which I didn't have much when I wrote the article there. So I did turn over to another collector. You can see with some stuff that he got signed by a few people. So make sure you check it out there at SportsCollectorsDaily.com. Also, help us out and buy some stuff in the TTM Cast store. That is at TTMcast.com, up in the top banner. I'd like to send a big thanks to Jake Flynn, one of our listeners who bought a T-shirt there this week. So get on board with Jake and buy yourself a T-shirt, or how about a water bottle, maybe a hat, a hoodie. We've got a lot of stuff on there. TTMcast.com, click on the store, help keep this show running for a little bit. Well, we mentioned before that if you have any questions, any comments, send them our way. And we've got a couple that I got in this week that I think we'll talk a little bit more about here. I emailed responses back to each of these people, but might be worth it to go into on the air here. And so the first one we had came from Matthew Rocchio, a TTM collector out in Montana. And he was asking about current MLB players and said, is it worth it to send out to any of the current players? He said, I've got a bunch I'd like to send to. And he said, I know that like the big names probably aren't going to sign much, if at all, ever. But what about some of, the lesser known guys, some of the rookies, anything like that? And so I answered him a bit on there, and it's kind of a situation where short answer, yes, with an if. Long answer, no, with a but. Yes, it's worth doing if you really dig into who signs. You don't just send out all willy-nilly. You concentrate on the guys that, on like, if you go on sportscollectors.net, see who's signed in season last year, see who's signed coming up through spring training this year, maybe try out some of those guys there. Long answer, no, with a but. No, but it's worth it if you can find some guys that are worth it. It's kind of the same exact answer there. But Arron, any other thoughts on that? Because I know I think you've sent out more to active players recently than I have, because I sure have not sent out to many at all over the last several years. But any thoughts? Is it worth it to send out to the active guys?
If you can hit a window, it's like, it's really kind of hard, because some players, you don't know what their signing habits are. Maybe they wait a whole year, and then at the end of the season, they sign all the stuff. And then you're just like, well, there's like a week left in the season, or maybe the season's over. And, it's hard to kind of gauge that sort of thing. I'm trying to think. The last one that I actually sent off to and got back, I believe, from a current MLB player. Now, MILB is a little bit different, but a current MLB player, I believe, was Jordan Westberg, who was actually an All-Star last year for the Baltimore Orioles, and he's from New Braunfels, which my family's from New Braunfels. New Braunfels High, just so you know, fun fact is their mascot is the Unicorns. So I sent like Go Unicorns or something on the envelope, but yeah, and that's where Jordan Westberg graduated from. But yeah, I think that was the last one, and so it really just depends on, you know, if you can find somebody who is maybe signing, and if you have a card that you're okay with losing.
So there you go. I mean, it could be worth a try, and of course, you know, we've talked a little bit about it last year when Troy Rutter, our previous co-host, bought the 2023 top set and mailed off every single card in it just to see what he could get back. And unfortunately, it was a little bit of an exercise in futility, but he's gotten a couple more back since then. But it's definitely tough. There's going to be a lot of failure on there. But yeah, if you can pick your spots, go for it. Just be careful on it. Do your research, and be prepared for guys to change their minds on stuff as well. So there you go. Thank you to Matthew for writing in to us on that one. Second question we have is from Logan Anderson. And he had said, you know, since this is the off season, is this a good time to send to NFL players at all through their stadiums or anything like that? And easy answer there, I would say no. Definitely wait until the season, at least wait until training camp starts. And in some cases, you can even send when the summer mini camps happen. Like if you get a draft pick, you can send right when they first report for the rookie camps and such. But Arron, have you tried any active NFL players at all? I know usually whenever you and I, both of us, whenever we have any football success, usually retired guys. But have you sent to any active guys at all at any point?
The only one that I did recently last year, I sent to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was kind of like the patron saint at the moment of active TTM signers in the NFL. But yeah, and so I got him back 2 of 2. But that's, yeah, I mean, occasionally I'll send to a coach like Keenan McCardell or something like that in care of a team. But no, there's not a lot of active NFL players that I'm sending to most of the time.
I sent to a few draft picks a couple of years ago when the draft sets used to come out a little bit earlier. Usually they'd be out by like, you know, May or thereabouts. They've been coming out a little bit later now, but typically whenever I get those, I'd send off a few right to the first mini camps and everything, and kind of had mixed successes on those. Like I was able to get Jared Goff when he was a rookie through there, but yeah, a lot of other guys, it was, you know, a lot of kind of smaller names, you know, the Connor Cooks of the world. I think that's the name, the former Michigan State quarterback a number of years ago. And there's some that I sent out during that time that got returned way later. I mean, there was my Paxton Lynch one that took like 7 years to come back to me. So I would say, yeah, I mean, anytime you're in the off season of any sport, don't send anything via the team or the stadium. Wait until you're actually going to have players around. So it's not just, you know, sitting in a mailbox somewhere or a mail room for months on end. But I hope that helps you out, Logan. See what happens when the camps start opening up there, and hit those on day one. Send to them just, you know, a couple days before the camps even, and just, you know, see if you can time the arrival there just perfectly. So once again, thanks listeners for sending us any of your questions, any of your comments. Feel free to do so anytime, and we will get those answered on the air. Arron, once again, what is that email address for them to send to?
It's ttmcast@yahoo.com.
There you go. Just found out today about a new thing. It's the Knuckleball app is the name of it. It's a new TTM site. They don't have a full app yet, just a site there, but you can find them online at knuckleball.app. It is a free-to-use TTM site with addresses, success trackers, success rates, all that kind of stuff. They're just starting out, but they already have 600 addresses listed on there. So, listeners, if you get a chance, go and check that out. It sounds like it could be a really great addition here to the TTM world. Totally free to join, free to use, and I just signed up today and checked it out, and I'm liking this. Arron, have you heard about this at all? This is, I mean, I'll tell you, today was the first time I'd heard about it. This morning, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's check it out and throw it in, and I'm liking it so far.
I am hearing about this for the first time, but I like knuckleballs and I like autographs, so it sounds like a winner to me.
Yeah, so everybody go ahead and check that out. It's gotten my thumbs up so far, so hopefully it keeps on expanding out as more people get on there. We've got a few new releases to talk about. We're just going to cover 2 of them here because I found my initial list that I had put together of them was I had found, I think, 10 new releases upcoming and 10 upcoming shows. And I figure, okay, out of these, I'd rather cover the shows because that kind of pertains more toward what we do rather than just card releases, because, I mean, none of us are going to be buying National Treasures and sending out by mail. So we'll stick to some of the lower end releases here, the more affordable stuff here in this area. But Arron, I've been doing most of the talking here so far, so why don't you start off with this one?
Okay, we have 2025 Topps Heritage Baseball, so major release that drops on April 23rd. You'll get 8 cards per pack, 24 packs per box, 1 auto or memorabilia card per box, and the pre-sale price for that is $140.
If you're into sending over to Europe for some soccer players, we've got Panini Prism's EPL soccer set, the English Premier League, for 2024-25. That's going to be coming out on April 30th. 12 cards per pack with 12 packs per box. You're going to see 1 autograph, 17 prisms, and 6 other inserts or insert parallels in that box. Pre-sale price, that's going to run you $250. If you're interested in checking out some of these products and picking them up firsthand, go and check out a card show near you. We've got a lot of them coming up in early May, including the Dallas Card Show. May 1st through the 4th, it's at the Marriott Dallas Allen Hotel and Convention Center. Admission to that one is $15, and they don't tell you this on the website, but it's also $10 to park there. So if you're traveling alone, it's going to cost you $25 to get into this show. So, yeah, be forewarned before you try to go out to that one. But they're going to have 5 signers out there, including Rod Woodson and Marcus Semien. If you'd like to find out more info about this show, but no parking info, go check out DallasCardShow.com.
They will also have Sebastian Walcott out there. I mentioned him, Rangers' #1 prospect, so he'll be signing too, along with Marcus Semien. And then we've also got the Lupton's Westminster show, which is going on May the 3rd and the 4th at Town Mall of Westminster. That's in Maryland, and the admission fee is $5. And they will have 9 signers there, including Ozzie Newsome and Stevie Francis, the franchise, man. I haven't former Houston Rocket and others, but I mainly remember him as a Rocket. Man, I would love to get his autograph one of these days. Maybe he'll come closer to home one day. But for more information about that, you can check out LuptonSports.com.
If you're a little bit north of there, we've got the Pittsburgh show, May 2nd through the 4th. 750 tables at this show. That is a big one. It's at the Washington, Pennsylvania Crown Center. And hey, Dallas Card Show, look at this. Admission and parking are both free. It's free, Dallas, free. Pittsburgh knows what they're doing here. Anyway, signing autographs. It's going to be Calvin Austin III and Joey Porter Jr., both at the show signing. If you want more about that, go and check out PittsburghCardShow.com and get in for a much better price than they want in Dallas.
Feel better now?
Just a bit. I have expressed my disdain for the Dallas Card Show's ripoff on admission and parking a number of times before. So anytime I see it on there and I see a show that's just as big and just as good with significantly lower prices to get in the place, I am going to rail against the Dallas show for that. So yes, I feel much better about that.
Okay, good. I'm happy. We don't need you having a coronary. In the middle of the show, I have to finish it up by myself. We also have the Virginia Beach show that's going on May the 3rd at the Virginia Beach Fieldhouse. Admission is also free. There will be 5 signers there, including former Ranger and Mariner and others, Ruben Sierra, and Gerald Riggs. For more information about that, you can check out 757cardshows.com.
Parking also is free. We've also got the Augusta show coming up on May 3rd. This one's sent to us by listener John Guzman. Thank you for passing that one on to us. That's going to be held at the Pineview Baptist Church in Augusta, Georgia. Free admission on that one as well. 90 tables are going to have set up there at the church. No signers that he mentioned. I don't know if that's changed since, but it's worth checking out there. You can find out more on Facebook at CardFest Promotions.
We also have the Chicago Card Show, which is going on May the 4th at Bridgeview Community Center. That's in Illinois. As you might imagine, it's called the Chicago Card Show. Admission is $1. So listen, if you're trying to get out and get some cards and get into the hobby, there is no excuse in a lot of these places. $1 or free admission. Get out there, get you some cards. They will have 3 signers, including the Perry brothers and Bobby Thigpen, former Chicago White Sox closer. And you can get more information about that at Midwest Sports Buffet. Very classy.com.
If you can't afford a $1 admission, then it probably isn't the hobby for you.
Yeah, this is true. Try basket weaving or something. I don't know.
Yes. We've got the Orlando Gardens show on May 4th. Once again, as we always mention on whenever this one comes up, this is not in Orlando, Florida. This is at the Orlando Gardens Mall in St. Louis, Missouri. Nice Midwest show there. Admission $3 for this one. Also quite affordable. They're going to have 4 signers there, including Dwight Gooden and Kevin Mitchell. And if you want to find out more about that, go and check out stlsportscollectors.com.
And lastly, we have the Immortal Methuen card show, which is going on May the 4th at the VFW Hall, number 8349 in Methuen, Mass. Admission for that one is only $2, and Rico Petrocelli is signing for $15 there. For more information about that, you can check out cardshows.net.
There you go. So if you've got a card show near you, go and check those out. Help keep the hobby rolling and find some cool stuff for yourself. Let's move on now as we have more from Les.
And now it's time for more from Les with hobby legend Les Wolff.
It's the middle of the month. We've got Les Wolff joining us here one more time as we're going to talk a little bit about collection protection and how to keep all of your stuff safe and in good shape and anything like that. Because as I said later on in there, it's probably better to spend an extra, 20 or 50 or whatever dollars to protect a nice item rather than having to buy it all over again for a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 down the line. So heed the advice from Les right here in More From Les. All right, well, we are here in More From Les. We're joined by Les Wolff here, and as promised last month, we said we were going to talk a little bit about collection, protection, handling, all that kind of stuff, because I know something we've covered before, but I think everyone needs a refresher on it, and it's just good to kind of get all that out there for any new collectors. So, Les, good to have you on board here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's start off first off, because I've been kind of redoing some stuff here. We got a new shelving stuff set up here in my living room, and kind of got me to thinking, like, okay, lighting is kind of the biggest thing that I think a lot of people don't tend to think about, but it's going to affect stuff very heavily. And direct sunlight, obviously, direct sunlight just absolutely kills stuff. But what other lighting do people really need to watch out for when they're kind of putting stuff on display in their homes and stuff?
Well, you don't want to have fluorescent lighting, first of all. And also you want to have the temperature in the room between 68 and 72.
Okay.
Believe it or not, you don't want to have it stored in a room that is underneath or below the kitchen or the toilet, because there seems to always be some kind of problems. Right? Last year I had my kitchen sink, the chiller kept on going for about 10 hours. We were out, and it damaged stuff I had on the wall in the basement. So that was a new one. I never knew that one before. Originally, a toilet seal broke on top of a sports closet, which had a major claim with the insurance company. Yep. It's all this kind of stuff. It's more like preventative. When you walk around someone's house, you got to literally be like a fire inspector and look around and see things that need to be fixed or, not kept there. I mean, probably one of the best things to do is actually have everything in UV protected double plastic tubs or triple plastic tubs. Because this way, in case there's some kind of flood, you're kind of protected, hopefully.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is what you just said, actually, is the sunlight. You can UV protect your windows. You can even keep the blinds closed and stuff will still fade.
Yeah.
So you got to be very, very careful. The key thing, another key thing is the lighting. And when you frame the items, that's another thing people don't seem to realize. They go to Michael and say, it looks great. And it's a cheap-ass frame. Well, that cheap-ass frame is going to cost you whatever you put in there. So you don't want to do that. You want to have it professionally framed UV glass, non-glare glass, UV matting, acid-free matting. You want to take care of that stuff because, as hard as we are and how much money we spend on this stuff, you don't even look at it that often, but if it's on the wall and it fades, there's really nothing you could do about it once it starts fading.
Yeah.
And also, believe it or not, I found a lot gold and silver pens, if you keep them in a loose leaf, no matter what temperature you have it at, that's going to start coming off on the plastic sheets. Wow. So once I noticed that a number of years ago, I took everything out of my plastic sheets and the loose leaves and put them into a UV protected box. So that's another thing to do. And I'm pretty sure I know PSA doesn't do it. I'm pretty sure that SGC and Beckett don't do it. Is the encapsulation, although it looks amazing, I can tell you, PSA's holders are gorgeous. SGC's holders are gorgeous. So is Beckett. But I don't think any of them are waterproof, and I don't think any of them are UV protected either. So if you frame up something and that's already encapsulated, and those holders aren't UV protected, and you have it in the frame, that stuff's gonna fade. Mm-hmm. So it's these little things that we don't know. I asked somebody at PSA, and they told me they're not UV protected and they're not waterproof. And all they simply have to do is just seal the item, the card or the picture, or whatever you have, in like a double plastic, and also have a UV protection in that plastic. Like a little plastic bag or something inside would help it. But, that's as sophisticated as these card companies have gotten, and the authenticators, those simple things are not being addressed yet, at least to my knowledge.
Might cost you an extra $20 or $50 to get the right kind of glass, but it's better than paying an extra, $250 or $500 to replace the item in the future.
I just got back, my son got back rather, a Mickey Mantle 65 card. This took from December to now. So this is April. It took over 4 months.
Wow. To
finally get it back. It looks gorgeous, the holder, but if I leave this out in the sunlight, I guarantee this is going to fade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if I leave it in the wrong lighting, it's going to fade. So these simple things, I think the card companies, along with the authenticators, should be working on.
Absolutely. You mentioned temperature as being a big factor. How much does humidity play into that as well? Because to me, it seems like that would be even worse than temp. Mm-hmm.
I bought a nice autograph collection from a guy in Connecticut maybe 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he smoked. He didn't have air conditioning. He lived like on the fifth floor of a apartment building in Connecticut. And he had everything in a closet. And he started taking out the stuff. Well, he had Hall of Fame placards, stacks and stacks that stuck together. He had them in the plastic sheets. Mm-hmm. I literally was doing like surgery on this stuff to cut it out. And there was a large percentage of his stuff I had to throw out. The autograph stuck together, stuck on the plastic. Mm-hmm. The baseballs were badly faded. And that's because there was no dehumidifier. There was nothing to regulate the temperature in it. And it was hot as hell in there. Yeah. So, instead of paying him, let's say 5 figures, I had to pay him higher 4 figures because I showed him, I said, listen, you just had a lot of stuff. You got damaged. You never really took care of it. I think most collectors are kind of hoarders. We'll throw it in a box or throw it in a loose leaf and never look at it for 5 years, 10 years. Whereas some of us will look at it. The more you look at it, the more chances are, you'll be able to take care of it better. But just throwing them in a box or throwing them in the closet or the garage or the basement or the attic is not going to be helpful for the items.
Yeah. You mentioned loose leaf pages in there as being kind of a source of problems. I know when I was a kid, the big thing was that it was hammered into my head was non-PVC pages. Make sure you get non-PVC pages. Has that changed at all? Is there anything even better than just non-PVC to go with now?
Well, you got to have the UV protected. I mean, I just recently bought some more ball cubes on Ultra Pro, and it's supposedly UV protected. I wonder if I left an autograph ball out in the new holder, if I left it out by the sun, if that would truly protect it.
Yeah.
I tend to doubt it, but if what they're saying that Ultra Pro is UV protected, then hopefully they are.
Is there any specific company that you can think of that's best to go with on that? I know Ultra Pro is one you mentioned. BCW seems to be another popular one. Is there one that's better than the other at all?
I haven't done the sun and UV light protection test yet, but I kind of hope that they all are good, but
Yeah.
I think instead of charging what they're charging, they should do some more little advanced, checking it out to see if they are protecting against the sun and against the lighting in your house.
Yeah. And sometimes it can be tough too, because I mean, we don't know how things can change over time. I mean, what works right now, 20 might not have the same kind of effectiveness 20 years from now, possibly.
True.
Mhm.
And and also when you're handling the baseballs, you're handling your photos, the true way is really with gloves.
Yes.
Or the baseballs handle the seams of the ball, not the whites of the ball. You never know how that athlete touches it. He may have rosin or something on his fingers, and he touches the white, and it gets really badly toned. Like I know the Bobby Brown balls of years ago, they're very hard to find ones that aren't toned badly. Very rarely do you see them, but more and more they usually have toning spots or they get badly toned.
Mhm. In addition to just the glass that's being used in framing, how much does the matting matter? How much can that kind of affect something over time?
Well, if the matting isn't good and the picture is being protected by the matting, it's going to deteriorate. And another thing that people don't realize, we never really open it up, but is the tape. The tape that they're holding it through. It's got to be the proper tape. They got to, let's say, put that card in a plastic bag, and then maybe tape the bag. Don't actually tape the card or the photo. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've torn apart frames, and the tape. I've had to do major surgery to get the tape off the photo or the litho. It's they don't really care. They're just looking to sell it, and they're not really taking care of your item the right way. Even though it looks phenomenal, when you look at it, but if you take it apart, it's not that good.
Right. Is there any good way to get tape removed from something like that, or any especially like tape residue or anything gets left on there after a while? Is there a good way to take it off?
All I found is you got to become like a surgeon to get the plastic off, or you got to hope that it turns yellow and you can just peel it off.
Yeah.
A lot of times I have damaged items and I've thrown them out because the tape stuck to it and deteriorated so that it was lost, gone. It was just terrible. You couldn't do anything with it.
You mentioned earlier, we were talking about boxes a little bit, and you said, make sure you're getting something that's waterproof and everything. When you're just playing card boxes or photo boxes like the cardboard ones, is there any specific kind that you need to avoid for anything like that? Is there anything that's going to be a problem with the cardboard or anything?
Once you put them in the acid-free protective tubs, I don't think you really have to worry.
Okay, that's good.
I've never really seen the cardboard damage anything, unless it's on the floor and there's water coming in, or the temperature has affected it.
Yeah, that's good because I know acid-free paper I always see on stuff anytime I'm in like a scrapbooking store looking for supplies, and so it seems like that's probably something to watch out for because you don't want anything to possibly leach out of that either.
No, I would agree.
What other things can sometimes be areas that people might not think of that they're handling inappropriately or something like that?
Just like a simple thing when you're getting the photo signed, make sure you don't stick your finger on it or the athlete doesn't stick his finger on it.
Right.
I mean, that sounds pretty basic and, you would think that, but I can't tell you the amount of athletes that have accidentally either stuck their finger on it or handed it back to you and it wasn't dry.
Yeah.
That's why I'm pretty much really like to use is the Stadler pens.
Yes.
Because those dry pretty much as soon as the guy signs it, they're dried on contact. The Sharpies don't. Sharpies take a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what kind of magic Statler does because, I mean, those pens, like you said, they dry almost instantly. And if you leave the cap off them, they're usually still good for a while, whereas Sharpies, leave them off for 5 minutes and you're in trouble.
They dry up.
What kind of pens are best for using on a baseball to keep, does the ink, for example, in a pen, can that affect how quickly something fades, or is it just something with the lights?
Absolutely.
Or like, yeah.
For quite a few years, I was only using the thick, extra fine blue ballpoint pen. Mm-hmm. Then recently, someone told me I got to find one on my desk here. They told me about the zebra pens.
Okay.
So I just started getting some baseball signed with the zebra pens. So I haven't had many of them signed, but I haven't noticed any difference with them when they're signed in with the zebra pen. I mean, it's just like common sense. You just got to be careful. You got to trial and error, and you got to watch it.
Yeah, And of course, always try to stick to the best quality baseballs you can too, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen, somebody gets one of those China balls signed there, and 10 years later, you look at it and you're like, wait, what? This was signed at one point?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful with that stuff. Also, the one of the better silver pens that I've used is the Recollections.
Okay.
It's much better than the Sharpie,
Mhm.
from what I've found. So
That's the problem.
I like to use that a lot.
Yeah.
It's
Silver
pretty much
Sharpies have been so inconsistent for me whenever I've tried them out, for sure.
the silver and the gold. Yeah, it's really like hit or miss.
Yeah.
You got to get really, really lucky with that.
Yeah. What have you got coming up on your schedule here for any shows that you've got coming up?
I'll be doing the Hofstra show.
Yep.
Lucky's going to be doing this will be their first Hofstra event. Hopefully it'll be a good one. The end of the month. After that, I'll be in June. I'll be at the Canastota Boxing Hall of Fame inductions. They're going to be inducting Manny Pacquiao is going to be the big name there.
Oh, nice.
After that, in end of July to beginning of August, I'll be at the National in Chicago.
Great. I mean, we'll be definitely doing a big preview of the National there for our July episode, so I'm sure we'll have you on giving a preview of that and talking about all kinds of stuff there related to that once we get into that. But any cool pickups here recently for you at all?
Not that, I got a couple of big collections I'm working on.
Okay.
With massive card sign. And massive cards. I just got offered a big collection with signed game used Rangers and Mets and other uniforms that are game used.
Nice.
Well, there's a couple hundred signed bats and photos and stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing that collection. Mm-hmm. I'm also finding a lot more baby boomers like myself. They are starting to sell their collections off and then moving on with their collections, which is normal, the normal progression. But I'm also finding that there are not that many people that are getting into it anymore. It's more or less changing. Like the heir apparents are certainly changing now.
Yeah. It seems like, I mean, the new collectors that are coming in are all focused on, the stuff that came out last week, trying to find the people that are into the classic stuff. Yeah, definitely does not. There's not enough youth influx into the classic stuff, it seems.
They're more really into the cards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really where the consent, where the real money is going to now.
It's almost like, I mean, the young ones don't want to have the museum pieces at all. It's like, that's kind of sad, though. I mean, that some of those things belong in individual collections. They're not just sitting in a museum, but at the same time, it's like, I can understand it. They can be kind of tough to, display those sorts of things.
Yeah. I mean, it's no fun anymore.
Any other thoughts here before we move on with the show here? Anything else on your mind here with anything with collection protection? Anything really? Whatever you got.
I think, there should be, I think I've always said this. I think there should be some courses that should be taken by most collectors when you're first starting out, even when you're advanced, of how to really protect your stuff.
Yeah.
We're just going over it just loosely, but you really need to take care of your stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a dear friend of mine that passed away a couple of years ago from COVID, and I bought most of his collection. And the first time I went to his house, and he had once had a fire and he once had a flood, so a lot of stuff got damaged. But may Jack rest in peace. He didn't store it right. Mm-hmm. And it was in a file cabinet, fine. A metal file cabinet is good and everything, but this stuff was just sloppy.
Yeah.
You can always tell a sloppy collector from a really, anal, want to take care of it and protect it and everything. And I think you really got to do that. If you're spending, whether it's $5, $10, $50, $100 or thousands of dollars, if you're not protecting your investment, why even bother to collect?
Right.
It's one thing to amass the most signed cards or the most signed photos or baseballs, but if you're not protecting it and cherishing it and watch, looking after it, it's not going to retain its value. I mean, if you're collecting all the rookies or all the old timers and stuff, that's great. But if you're not if you want to add a Babe Ruth or a Lou Gehrig to that collection, you're changing the perspective of the whole collection, and you need to protect everything like it's Babe Ruth or Lou Gehrig.
Mhm. I'd even go so far as to say that having bad protection on stuff is worse than having no protection on it at all, because it gives you it gives kind of a false sense of security that you've done something right, and maybe not so much.
A local Fortune 500 company guy owned and he at the one time he had the best Mantle card collection in the world before he sold it. I went to his office to sell him. He collected Mantle, he collected Jeter, so he's selling us some Jeter stuff. And I went into his office, and I got to tell you, I looked on his wall. He had no protection on his window, and he had signed things of Munson and Maris and Mantle, and almost everything on there was faded pretty badly.
Yep.
And you would think if he sees it every day that he'd realize, but he never really did. The next thing you know, he asked me to do him a favor, to come to his house and do an inspection of his house and see what I could find that could help him to protect it. And I found a bunch of things, that you really, when you before you buy a house, you have to have an inspector inspect your house to make sure there's no termites or anything. Well, I think before you start collecting it, or you move into a new house, or you're even storing your stuff, you got to look out for everything.
And some of that stuff, I mean, you just mentioned that, he didn't really notice it was faded just because it happened so gradually. I had a couple of photos I had up in my old office when I worked with a hockey team, kept them out of direct sunlight, but you had the fluorescent lights in there, and you look at it first, you don't realize it. You compare it to another one, it's like, okay, yeah, that has really gotten faded. So
you got it, and the real key, though, believe it or not, is still the temperature.
Yeah.
If you have extreme heat and your stuff is in there, I don't care what you do, it's going to really affect it badly.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. Some tips, hopefully, for collectors out there to help protect you a little bit more. And like Les said, hopefully, maybe somewhere along the line, somebody's going to come up with a good course to that everyone will take that can help them out with all that. So let the people know, where can they find you online to check out any of your stuff that you've got up for sale?
Well, you could always go to my eBay store, Sports Autographs, SportsAutographz. My website, www.leswolff, sportsllc.com, or you can even call me, 516-933-7787. I'd love to hear your stories. Love to help you. As far as doing a course, I've always thought that somebody would come to me and just say, "Why don't you write up a course curriculum?" And I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
You just need some money, and you need a place to have people go to. I'm with the ISA, International Society of Appraisers, and I was just recently trying, requalifying and trying to up my accreditation. And I didn't even realize I've had over 700 hours of looking at memorabilia over the last 15 years. I do lectures on how to collect, invest, protect, and preserve in libraries all over New York. And I'm constantly seeing memorabilia. And some of that stuff that I see in that's brought to me, some great stuff, but there's also a lot of stuff that got damaged.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it is what it is. And, let's hope that not us, but the next generations of collectors take better care of this stuff, because the families, when they want to sell it, they're not going to get ripped off. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to, say, "Well, he spent thousands of dollars on it, but I can hardly see it."
Yep.
It's not a good situation.
Yeah. So the International Society of Appraisers, is that an area that's growing, shrinking in population? Is it kind of staying the same? Is that something that people need to look into more, doing as a career?
In 1992, that's when I first took the appraisal course.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only person with sports. Now there's a guy that works with PSA that does appraisals for them. There's a couple other people. There aren't that many, because it's an extremely specialized. So, you basically, whatever you learn from picking up, from being a collector and a dealer, you got to transfer to the people that you go into the houses. Like last year, I did an appraisal, and we put in the appraisal report that it was questionable, This guy had a washer dryer that leaked in his house. Supposedly he had his cards in there. And what he did was he took all the cards out of there, put it into his garage, and threw them on the floor because they were all supposedly water damaged. I found it hard to believe that he had so many cards on the floor. And what he put in for the insurance, I'm not saying it was fraud, but I would be highly suspecting some foul play in there. But you have to remember, when you put stuff, whether it's in your basement, in your office, or any room, you don't want to leave it on the floor. You don't want to leave it on the lowest shelf. The higher the elevation, the better probability of protecting it better.
So there you go. Hopefully some tips will help collectors out there. Les, any other thoughts before we move on here with the show?
I actually think now, because of what's going on with the tariffs and everything, I think it happens to be a really, really good time to really invest in the high-end autographs.
Okay.
The Roots and the Garricks, because I think now is a good time to be buying that stuff.
There you go. So a little help for any of the high-end collectors out there that are listening in on the show. And a big thanks once again to Les Wolff for joining us this week in More From Les, as we now move on to Making the Grade.
And now it's time for Making the Grade.
Making the Grade is a little bit of info on how things are going in the grading section of this hobby. And Arron, we've got some numbers from the second week of April. What do we got here?
And so for the week of April the 7th through the 13th, PSA graded 327.7 thousand cards, which is down 6%. CGC graded 80,000 cards, which is up 42%. That's a nice little clip increase for them. SGC graded 36.5 thousand cards, which is down 5%. And Beckett graded 14.5 thousand cards, which is down 12%. All in all, there were 458.7 thousand cards graded the week of April 7th through the 13th. And that is still a pretty large number there.
It definitely is. And a big thanks to Gem Rate for providing all those numbers, and of course, for giving us the exclusive Big 3.
This week's Big 3 is brought to you by GemRate.com. Whose cards are hot and whose cards are cold this week? Let's find out from our friends at GemRate.com.
Well, Big 3 is something you'll only find here on TTM Cast, courtesy of GemRate.com. Taking a look at some individual players and their grading trends here in the hobby, as right now, this week's rising Big 3, Cooper Flagg topping the list. The Duke guard is up 61% on his numbers from the previous week. Jason Tatum of the Celtics up 42%, and Cam Ward, as he prepares to be the likely number one pick on Thursday night, his grading numbers are up 38%. Flagg had two Bowman U Now cards in the top 10 cards graded last week, so that helped propel him up to the top of the list. Both those cards had over 150 copies graded in the last week alone by the Big Four grading companies. Meanwhile, moving down the list, it's a quarterback fest going on with that one for the most part. Arron, who we have moving on downward?
Quarterback fest indeed. So we've got Tom Brady, who was down 20%. We have the aforementioned, and a name that still makes me sad, Luka Doncic, who was down 25%. And rounding out the falling Big 3, we have Justin Herbert, Chargers quarterback, who is down 29%.
And once again, a big thanks to Gem Rate for providing all of that info to us. You can dig deeper into the numbers. Of course, I should say before that, the Big 3 is exclusive only to TTM Cast. You will not find that anywhere else. But if you want to dig deeper into some numbers, go and follow them on Instagram and all social media at Gem Rate. If you want to dig really deep into some numbers, go on their website at gemrate.com. Right now, let's roll on in over to the TTM Cast stamp of approval.
I bet you're wondering who earned this week's TTM Cast stamp of approval.
Well, this week's TTM Cast stamp of approval, it's this chance for us to give our thumbs up to anything from the previous week. I mean, it might be food, it might be TV, music, movies, anything like that. You never know what it's going to be. And yeah, it just kind of gives a chance to say that we're not just a bunch of sports and collectibles geeks, even though it often ends up something sports or collectibles related. Mine is not. Mine goes to IHOP, especially IHOP after midnight. I don't know what it is about IHOP. It hits different after like about 11 p.m. to midnight and on into like the 2 to 3 a.m. range there. But last night we were out. My wife and I were out kind of late as we went to a concert and went over to IHOP on our way home. And so yeah, found the greatness that is the bacon explosion or something like that, omelet, or I don't remember what it was. It was some kind of bacon omelet that had there's bacon, there was cheese, there's tomatoes all involved. So lots of stuff going on there. And I had the Citastack pancakes along with them. My wife had the cinnamon roll crepes, and good God, those are absolutely amazing. I mean, you can basically put cinnamon roll filling on anything, and I'm probably going to go nuts over it. But it's just there's something magical that happens when you add it to a pancake or a crepe. And so if you're a fan of cinnamon stuff, go and make sure you get those if they have them at your local IHOP, because they are just that good. And I'm going to have to go back again in a couple weeks and try them with a little bit of chemical assistance and see if they get even better after that, which I think they just might. So we'll find out about that. We'll report back later on. So my stamp of approval for the week, IHOP, especially IHOP after midnight. Arron, what do you have for yours?
I tell you what, if they're gonna call anything Bacon Explosion, I'm in.
I don't think it was explosion. It was something else, but it had bacon and something awesome sounding with it. There's definitely an adjective to go with the bacon that made it even better, and it lived up to the name. So yeah,
nice. So I need to give my stamp of approval this week to a few of my employees, and their names are David, Seth, and Kagan, and they ran the gym for me on Tuesday so that I could go and hang out with you wonderful people and get autographs from the Charlie Sco and Bother Benji Gill and all of them. And yeah, so they ran the gym for me, and I normally don't get off on Tuesdays. I normally work on Tuesdays, but they've been kind of after me about I work too many hours, and they said that if I wanted to go graph that they would take over the gym for me one day and one day only. and so yeah, I appreciate that. We had a good time. We got a bunch of autographs. It was cool getting Billy Hamilton and all of those guys. So yeah, it was great. And so shout out to David, Seth, and Kagan. I appreciate your service.
Excellent. Good to always get some help on that for any time you want to take a day off to graph, because that yeah, it definitely helps. By the way, I just looked it up, and it is the Bacon Temptation omelet. Not quite as cool as Bacon Explosion, but still, it's something. I prefer Bacon Explosion, I think.
Right. They should hire you for their marketing team.
I should not do marketing. I have tried, and I no. I mean, come on. You saw what happened with the Wildcats in the late 90s and early 2000s there with me handling or helping at least with marketing. Just no. With that being said, let's go ahead and move on into this week's Vern Rapp Minute. Well, the Vern Rapp Minute is dedicated to the memory of Mr. Vern Rapp, former Major League manager and minor league ball player, as our show's founder, Jeff Baker, tried to mail an autograph request to him and did not know that he'd already passed away. And so we provide this as a service to all the collectors out there to let you know when someone has passed away in the world of anything that you might consider TTMing, basically. We try to keep up to date with all that, at least. There's a few that slipped through the cracks, like we forgot to mention Val Kilmer last show, which, I mean, it's kind of a huge loss in Hollywood that I don't know if he was a TTMer or not, but definitely was worth mentioning, and I completely blanked on that one just because I tend to forget celebrity stuff. So there you go. But we'll go ahead and go on into this week's one where we've got a whole lot of sports stuff, including an interesting one here, as the Vern Rapp Minute, of course, we mentioned, is named for Vern Rapp, who was the Cincinnati Reds manager before Pete Rose took over. And then after Pete Rose was banned from baseball, his replacement as manager was Tommy Helms, who died this week. He was an infielder from 1964 to 77 for the Reds, the Astros, and also brief stops with the Pirates and the Red Sox. played in the 1966 and 67 All-Star games. He was an excellent TTMer throughout his entire life. He was 83 years old.
And then we also lost Octavio Dotel, who was 51. He was a pitcher from 1999 through 2013 with 13 teams, notably the Astros and the Athletics. And he had 3 20-plus save seasons. The really good closer in his day, and he was an excellent TTMer through spring training or during spring training. And I actually got the opportunity to meet him in my graphing days when he was with the I believe with the A's. It might have been the Astros, but yeah, when I was graphing the ballpark back when you could do such a thing. And he was nice enough to sign a card for me. So it always hits a little bit different when you met the person that died, and especially the way that he died, and in the nightclub collapse in the Dominican Republic. I mean, it's just awful, and a lot of people died in that, and it's just unfortunate tragedy.
We also lost Billy Smith this past week. Billy was a pitcher for the Astros in 1981. Only got into 10 games, but was 1-1 with a 3.05 ERA. Of those 10 games, 9 of them were in relief, but his only start was his only career win, came August 29th versus the Phillies. Billy was an excellent TTMer through the year 2022. He was 70 years old.
And we also lost Nate Oliver, who was 84 years old. He was an infielder from 1963 to 1969 with the Los Angeles Dodgers, San Francisco Giants, New York Yankees, and the Chicago Cubs. He was a .226 hitter and had 2 home runs in his career, and he was an excellent TTMer through January.
It was funny. I was looking up the stuff about Oliver's 2 career home runs, and his second one, they came, I think it was like one came in his first season, one came in his last season. After the second one, the pitcher actually threw at him and hit him in his next at bat after it, which is like, how do you do that to a guy with 2 in his career? I mean, come on, geez. But it's kind of interesting. We also lost Carl Warwick this week. Carl was an outfielder from 1961 to 66, played for the Cardinals, the Astros, the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Orioles. Big moment for him, the 1964 World Series, which he won as, I believe, a member of the Cardinals, if I remember correctly. Went 3 for 4 in that World Series, played in 5 games of it. I'm guessing he must have pinch hit or something in most of those, since, 3 for 4 across 5 games there. That's a pretty nice clip right there. Carl was an excellent TTMer. He was 88 years old.
And we also lost Dan Sullivan, who passed away at the age of 85. He was an offensive lineman from 1962 to 1972 with the Colts. He was a Super Bowl V winner, and he was an excellent TTMer through November.
Keeping it in football, we also lost Don Hasselbeck this past week. He was a tight end from 1977 to 1985, mostly with the New England Patriots. Also spent some time with the Raiders, the Vikings, and the Giants. His best season came in 1981. He had 46 catches for 808 yards and 6 touchdowns as a member of the Pats. Don was an excellent TTMer across his lifetime. He was 70 years old.
And we also lost Alex Faulkner, who was 88 years old. He was a center for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings from 1961 to 1964. He scored 32 points in 100 games with the Red Wings, and he was an excellent TTMer through 2020.
We lost Greg Millen this week. He was a goalie from 1978 to 1992 with 6 NHL teams, notably the Blues, the Blackhawks, the Penguins, the Red Wings, and I forget the last 2. I'm trying to do that off the top of my head, but I knew at least those 4. His best season, 1988-89, he led the NHL with 6 shutouts as a member of the Blues. Greg was an excellent TTMer through 2015. He was 67 years old. Well, if you've lost anybody this week, our thoughts are certainly with you as we move on in to our TTM returns.
Was our mailbox full this week? Let's take a look at this week's TTM returns.
Well, it's the main reason why we are here. It is our TTM returns, and after a few weeks of emptiness, as I'm sure my articles on Sports Collectors Daily have shown there, I finally have some stuff to talk about this week. The good, the bad, and, the good and the bad. There's, I guess, the bad also counts as the ugly in this case, but So yesterday, or 2 days ago, I guess it was, I got an envelope in a body bag. And some of you may have already seen my post on Instagram, because, my God, I have never seen an envelope that has gotten this badly damaged and yet still came in one piece, technically. It looked like this thing had been run over by the entire USPS fleet of vehicles, then set on fire and put out with a fire hose and left out to dry in the sun. It was horrible. And of course, it comes that "we care" bag, and it's like, yeah, bullshit. No, you don't. This is ridiculous. But it turns out it was postmarked from Las Vegas, which is actually on the outside of the "we care" envelope. I mean, my actual self-addressed stamped envelope, I don't think had a postmark on it, though I could see a little bit of red ink from an attempt at postmarking it, just to make sure that I couldn't take off that completely damaged stamp and reuse it. Seriously, USPS, thanks. What the hell? But yeah, I opened that one up, and my 3 cards from Wayne Kirby, former Cleveland Indians outfielder and Baltimore Orioles coach, were all signed in black Sharpie, but they got pressed so badly that 2 of them were stuck together. I was able to separate them, but I mean, they were just so badly crinkled and bent up and everything. I'm like, no, we're not going to keep these at all. That's terrible. So it went straight in the trash can there. So the good news is that Wayne Kirby is signing. The good news is Wayne Kirby signed for me. The bad news is USPS completely mishandled this thing into oblivion. I posted in a couple of Facebook groups, too, and somebody said it looks like it got trapped in a belt in one of the sorting machines. And I'm like, okay, that would make sense for how it got bent the way it was, what these tracks on it look like and everything. But yeah, so thank you to Wayne Kirby, and a big FU to USPS on that one. So that's my first one. That's the bad and the ugly. But the good came in yesterday from Yuri Hoodler. And that's a name that I have not heard in quite a while. Former member of the Red Wings and the Flames at the very least. I had mailed to him over in was it the Czech Republic or is it Slovakia? Let me look. It was the Czech Republic. And I don't know if he'd lost my envelope or something, but he wrote my envelope out by hand to send it back to me. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, or did I somehow forget to put my info on there? Because I don't remember what kind of stamps I got from the Czech Republic or anything like that. I mean, he may have looked at it and said, yeah, that stamp is out of date, and put his own one on there. But I got him back in his own addressed envelope there, and he signed all 4 cards I mailed out to him 2 years ago, February of 2023. So it took a little while, but finally got all of those back. Informed Delivery says I have one coming in today, and I think it might be a former kick returner for the Detroit Lions, Mel Gray, who I sent a set card off to about sometime late last year. I think it might have been November of last year. Kind of took a flyer on him, so I saw he had signed a few at least, and hopefully that's coming back today. Hopefully it's signed. We'll see what we get here later on. So that's where I'm at. My mailbox at least has something in it. It's going to have stuff going out from it here soon. Aaron, what do you got on your side here?
So it was funny, the Wayne Kirby one, I actually saw that on Instagram that you posted last night before we didn't even talk about it, I was like, man, there's some anger. There was some anger on that envelope.
Yes. It's like the USPS has taken all of their rage from any complaints I've ever had about them and took it out on that one right there. So yeah.
That Hoodler, man, that is the biggest stamp I've ever seen in my entire life. That's like a third of the envelope.
These Czech ones are massive. I mean, it takes up vertically 2/3 and horizontally about a quarter of it. So that's just for anybody out there to get an idea, since they can't really see this at all there. But yeah, I'm happy to get that one though. I mean, 2 years, and he took it upon himself to address the thing himself. So nicely done.
That's awesome. So some extra ink on that one. And so, yeah, the graphing bonanza that I've been having to start the season also carried over to my mailbox since we've been gone. So I got former Packers and Chargers wide receiver John Jefferson back 3 of 3. I got former Steelers wide receiver Troy Edwards back 3 of 3. I got former Bengal Marco Battaglia back 3 of 3, so I did some football. And then here's the baseball one. Former Pirates pitcher Jeff Karstens signed 3 of 3 for me. I was actually happy to get that one back. I had a 2013 Topps emerald, the grand foil ones. Those are super fun to get signed. It's always good to see, to get somebody back that you watch pitch. So that was a good one. Then I got former Brown Oscar Rowan, who I believe lives in Texas, and so does Troy Edwards, also live in Texas. So shout out to them. And so Oscar Rowan signed 2 of 2 for me, and then I got back kicker, I believe, for the Houston Oilers and others. Al Del Greco signed 3 of 3 for me, and lastly, former New Orleans Saints lineman Stan Brock also signed 3 of 3. So a good little clip there. I was actually working on some TTMs last night, so hopefully there'll be some more success in my future.
Al Del Greco, also one of the best golfers among pro athletes that are not on the PGA Tour. So interesting fun fact. He's actually coaching golf now for a college. So cool stuff there. Well, that about does it for this week's show. Once again, a big thanks to Les for jumping on here to talk about how to protect your collection. Hopefully, listeners can take some advice from that and help out your own collections from there. Big thanks to Arron for sitting in here in the co-host seat as always, and to Ruthie for providing all of the production work that sends this show from our mouths out to your ears. Next show, we will not have a show next week on the 26th. I'm going to be incredibly busy with stuff for the NFL draft at work. So, no show next week. We'll be back on May 3rd, as we're going to make a move into a monthly format for the show starting then. We'll be joined by Josh Durham for that one, talking about some of the work he's been doing with Triple Cards, who started out as a shop in Plano. They have now expanded out. They have several shows or several stores around Texas and possibly even outside of Texas. I know at the very least they've got a couple of stores here in state. We'll be talking a little bit about what they've got going on there and some of the work that he has been doing with them. Arron, any other thoughts here before we go ahead and wrap this one up?
It was fun. It's fun to do the show. I always enjoy it. So thanks for having me on. I am once again not fired. So we are on a perpetual winning streak here so far. So hopefully we'll keep it going.
There you go. So once again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Wishing you many happy returns, and we will see you in 2 weeks on TTM Cast.
Everyone, be good.